I will share my screen. And as usual, if anyone online has questions, I just launched the Q&A app, so you can. Oh, okay. Raj, are you able to? If you're able to see the feed, let me know now. And yeah, so if anyone has questions online, just go ahead and post them there. And anybody viewing on YouTube can go ahead and email me. And actually, let me share my full screen. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete all my files and start from the same stuff that I sent out in the email, so that we're all starting from the same thing. So if you have the email, go ahead and download that zip file full of the folders. So that was the mobile app Crash Course 3 zip file. And so you can download that and then right-click inside of it, extract all, and go ahead and put those somewhere. In my case, I'm just going to throw them on my desktop. All right. So now we're going to go to wherever you unzip them. Let's just, so Yish and Tony, you both got that? Yep. All right, so let's just again start with where we were last week. You open up the index file with Google Chrome and press F12 and click that. Make sure that arrow over there is clicked. Emulation. Oops. Toggle the phone and the main toolbar to enable it. Oh, this is interesting. So apparently this is a new thing. You have to click this little phone. Oh, this is all different now. To enable it. But anyway.
More options too.
And then when you're done, hey Taplin, refresh it. I'm using the iPhone 5, I think. And let me just double check that there's no questions here. Okay. So Raj is able to see it now. Great. All right. The last place that we ended up the previous session, not last week because we skipped last week, was we're working on getting the graph to show up. And right now it doesn't show up yet because the deal is that it is right now. If we go into the code, go into the main.js code. No, it is looking to create the graph as soon as the page loads. But when the website loads, it's on the first page and the graph isn't there, so it gets all messed up. So we need to somehow change this to only try to load the graph when we go to the graph page. To do that, we're going to go back on. Oops, not this. We're going to go back on the jQuery mobile site. So jQueryMobile.com/demos. Click on the latest stable one. And over here you'll see something called events. And basically what events are, let's see here. Can I just load? Let's see. Let's look up page load here. Well, let's just Google it then. jQuery mobile page onload. Oh, so okay, they do have a section here. Let me go ahead and I'll post this link on the Google Hangout page. If it opens up here. Let's see here. I'll just go ahead and post this link. And while I'm posting it, just to briefly describe, events are basically different like triggers. So it says when this thing happens, run this function. And so they're very useful for different things. So for example, you can see they have page before change. So right before it runs the transition, it'll trigger whatever's inside there. There's slight differences between before create, before load, etc. In our case, we're going to do page before show. And this way, the page is all the content is in the page. This is just before it actually shows it. And what I'm going to do actually here, let me double check some code here because this looks a little bit different than what I was expecting. Okay. Okay. Not that one. Okay. Let me do this again. jQuery mobile page before show. Get a good example somewhere here. So W3 Schools actually has that as well. So here's a good example of a full working example of how to call it. And what they're doing basically is they select the document, which is the full page, and they say on when the page before show event is triggered for this page, run this function. So that's the setup there. And I'll go ahead and actually just post this. I'll just go ahead and post this actual code over on the Google Plus page. I don't know. Are you in that, Isha? You've got it, Tony? Okay. All right. So go ahead and plop that code in right at the bottom of our JavaScript file. And actually, what we can do is let's just make sure that it works by just tweaking it a little bit. And instead of saying before showing page 2, we'll say before showing, let's just see what the name of our page is. It's called graph. Before graph. And again, just like with the links, you put hashtag graph. So you're going to paste that code that we had at the bottom of the main.js file and just change page 2 to graph. And then we'll save it. Go back to our app. Go back to the home screen, refresh. And now if I click View Graph, it should give me a little alert. And sure enough, it did. Perfect. So now we have a function that will always be run exactly before that second page is shown, which is exactly what we want. But now rather than having it pop up that alert, we're going to take all this code that was in that onload function. So take everything between lines 30 and 33. Don't take 34 because that curly brace corresponds to to the function up on 29. And we're going to get rid of the alert on line 37 there and paste in that code instead. And now we can get rid of all that lines 34 through 29. The whole window.onload thing we can get rid of. Yep. Yeah, sure. Let me hold up. Going a little too fast here.
So do I delete 37 completely?
Yes. So the alert line, just get rid of that altogether.
Paste that in?
Yep. Paste in that other code instead.
Do I delete 29 through 34 now?
Yep. Delete 29 through 34. So now your code should look like this. Down at the bottom of your page, you've got the document.onPageBeforeShow, and then that code in there.
Yeah, I got that.
Got it? Okay, so now we save it, refresh our app, and now, all right, we'll just go ahead and click View Graph. And we're still not, oops, sorry, what's that? Right, you shouldn't get a pop-up now because we took the pop-up away. We should be seeing the graph though, and we're not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into F12. And I'm not seeing anything in the console. The console is where you look for errors. We're not getting any errors. So there must be, this code in here must not be running correctly. So we'll go back to our index and see what's going on. So we've got our canvas element here that it's looking for. We've got our chart.js code right here. So it may be that it can't be run on page before show. We may need to use, let's see what other events they have here. We may want to use page show, which is what is called after the transition completes. So we'll go ahead and just try that. Backspace the before, so now it'll just say page show. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to peek at my previous working example.
Well, can you go back a little bit?
Yes.
It seems like on dot line, you need to close parentheses after line chart data.
Right here? So
After line chart data.
yeah, so this actually is closed off over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wrapped around. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So now if I refresh, there we go. Now you don't see anything, but that's because we didn't put in any points, I believe. So now we can try putting in some points. So we'll go over here and plug in some Texas type temperatures. I'm hearing some objections.
I like it.
It might get cold this weekend.
Might get cool. All right, we'll say it'll get to a cool 83. Yeah. All right, now we're going to say view graph. Now this is good and bad, right? So we're
time stamping when you're putting in the.
Yes, it's time stamping it, right?
So it's like by second.
Is military time, so it's here in Central Time. It's 7:35 and 19 seconds plus 12 p.m. 1935. Tony, did you get this?
No, what did you change?
Okay, sorry. Let me go back. What you should the change to get your code working is to change it to page show instead of page before show.
I did that, but nothing's popping up.
Did you put in?
It was page before create.
Okay. Did you change it to page show?
Is that part of the problem?
I changed it to page show. Unless I can't spell the word page or show right.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Now go back to the app.
Okay.
Go back home.
Refresh.
checking a few points. Oh, you have to actually say submit.
Submit. And then
Oh, hang on, it's not submitting. This is interesting. Check your console.
how do I
Uncaught syntax error record temp is not defined. Oh, click on main.js 34. Go to your go to your code. You're telling me you've got an error on line 34 of your code.
Okay. 34.
Okay, so you have
Why is it?
um, function.
That supposed to be fine?
No, it should be the same. It looks good. Let me
You want to just move forward?
yeah, no, let me just take a quick look at like what the console is saying. So again, anybody online who has questions, just go ahead and post them in the chat here. Just checking out the syntax there we've got going on here. Oh, there's some weird character there. That's the problem. Let's view. That's show symbol. Oh, get rid of that. This should be good. This should be fine. Okay, get rid of that. Check the console. It has some weird error. Some weird character at the end of the code there.
Oh, my function said event ended.
Let's see what happens if we take this all out. And again, folks online, just bear with me here for a minute. Okay, let's see if just taking the code out works. Okay, so there is some weird syntax there. Let's go ahead and just try recopying this code. So I don't know if anybody online is having this. It may be that in copying the code from the Google Hangout, it's adding some weird character. Let's just try this. Graph, page show. Oops, and then we wanted to, actually, let me go back and get rid of code. Get rid of all this. Go ahead and oops, get rid of the middle line. Page show. And then copy middle code inside of it. Okay. Oh, that's so weird. Interesting. I think it may be actually copying an illegal character. Tony, are you getting yours to work?
part of it was.
So
Where's the character?
the graph is showing up.
Part of it.
Let me see if I just simply delete the last line of code and retype it. So there we go. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's working.
Yay.
Okay, great. No, that's good. Okay, so yeah, so folks online, and I'll bet there's some questions on here. If you're having trouble getting this code to work, just delete this last line here. There was some funny character copied over from Google. Just delete that last line and then retype the right curly brace, the right parenthesis, and the semicolon. And that took care of it for Isha. Now, what you notice is that it was doing a flat line instead of the actual temperature. And the reason for that is because in our index.html file, every time we record the temp as 98, we're like, hey, it's Texas, it's 98. So instead, we want to change that to actually send it the right data that the user typed into the box. So let me just make sure, anybody on the web, if you don't have it working, go ahead and post a question. I'd be happy to help. And Tony, you got yours working? Okay. So right now what you should be seeing is you type in some temperatures, but no matter what you type in, when you hit View Graph, you're going to just see a flat graph at 98. It's 98, 98, 98. It's Texas. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to change that to actually send the temperature that the user actually put in. And the way we're going to do that is going over to the index.html file. And John, what you can do is just download the code file that I sent out last time, and I will post the one additional code thing that we did. Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do here is go into the index.html file, and we're going to backspace the 98 in the record temp. And we're going to replace it with $, parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, we're going to put single quotes. And the reason that we're using single quotes is because notice that out here, on click, the whole on click thing is in double quotes. So if we were to put double quotes in here, see what happened? See how that just turned white? Those parentheses just turned white? That shows that it just closed the string, right? It just closed out the other quote, and now it's messing everything up. But a trick in HTML is that if you want to put quotes inside of other quotes, just use the opposite. So if it's single quotes on the outside, you can put double quotes on the inside, or vice versa. So here, we're going to now another thing you could do, and this is like you might even have quotes inside quotes inside quotes, you could also do \quote, I believe. Although it doesn't seem to be working here, but it may just be the syntax highlighting is wrong, but \ in HTML will escape a character. But anyway, so we've got our $, and then our opening parenthesis, single quote, and then our closing parenthesis. And inside here, we're going to put the ID of the text field that we want to get the value out of. Now in this case, it's this one up here, and we left it as the default number dash pattern. So we're going to put hashtag number dash pattern. Actually, just to make this more clear what's going on, I'm going to put some spaces here. And then we're going to just say .val. So this whole piece of code right here, basically it selects the element with the ID number dash pattern, and it gets whatever the current value of it is. Sean, you're smiling over there. Let me go ahead and also for anybody who joined late, I'm going to go ahead and post at the bottom. Go ahead and download the code that I sent out in my email. You're going to backspace the window.onload code at the bottom, get rid of all of that, and you're going to replace it with this new code. Let me get over to the. You can get this. I'm going to paste this code in the Google Hangout page. All right. And then you're going to, and I'll go ahead and post this line of code too for anyone who would like in the Google Hangout page as well. This is what you put in place of the 98 inside the record temp function in the index.html file. Does that make sense?
So it's value. It's just val, not value?
Yeah, it's just val. In programming, you like to shorten things if you can. So now, if we go to our app, and we'll refresh the page, let's go ahead and, I just came back from New Jersey, so we'll put in some New Jersey temperatures. Oops, hang on, sorry, I messed up. Okay, so it's like 65, 79, 72, and it did get pretty warm one day and got all the way up to 87. So now we'll go ahead and view graph. Aha. Now it's looking more like it. So this is now taking all those values that we put in, saving them in our array, and whenever we go to this page, our graph is pulling in those values and creating itself. Did you get that working?
Yeah.
You did? Nice. Tony, you got that working over there? No. What is it giving you? And again, anybody on the web who didn't get it working, just go ahead and post a question. I'll take a look. Okay. Yeah. All right. So on index.html line 26, go ahead and open. You can just open your code up in there. That'll be easier. 26. Okay, so what happened is that the quotes go around just number pattern. Let me go ahead and bring my code back up. So the parentheses and quotes go just around number pattern, and then outside of those parentheses you do .val.
Oh.
Yep. So what you're going to do is you're going to kill all that, do the onload thing, yeah. And just replace that with the code from the Google Hangout page. Yeah. And then, yeah, that 98, you can just replace it with the other one. Hopefully it should just work now. Wow. There you go. Very nice. So, I don't know, one thing that just bothers me being a designer is just how gray the whole thing looks. So, let's just go ahead and have a little fun with the graph. You can tell here they have fill color, stroke color, and point color. And what you'll notice is that they have, they say RGBA. R stands for red, G stands for green, B stands for blue. With those three values, you can create all the colors. And then A stands for, I don't know what it stands for. Alpha. Okay, thank you. It basically determines how transparent it is. So what you can do is you can go ahead and just kind of, you can either just make up colors, or something that I do a lot. There is a website, HTML color picker. If you just Google it, there's a website, colorpicker.com, that allows you to select a color that you like, and then they tell you both the hex code for it as well as the RGB values. So my favorite color is aqua. So just get a nice looking color here. And then I'll say, okay, I've got 34, 148, 186. 34, 148, 186 for the fill color. For the stroke, you know, maybe I want to make that a little bit darker. 2099, 125. And the points, let's just say I want to make them black. So black is 0, 0, 0. White is 255, 255, 255. So basically, the lower the number is, the darker the color, the less of it there is, and the higher the number, the more of that color. So now if I go back to the app and refresh it again, that's much nicer. And that gives you a bit of a taste of working with plugins, how you can, they make it very easy to create stuff and then customize stuff that otherwise would take tons and tons of time to code. You even saw when you go to the page, it does that nice little animation to bring it up. To code this would take forever. So let me just double check if I have any questions on the Hangout here. Any questions in the room? Did you guys all get that working? Kind of customized a bit? All right. Now, suppose you're on this page right here, and you refresh the page. You're on the graph page with some data, and you refresh it. Poof! You know, it's all gone. Nothing is being saved. It's all just temporary. It's just each time I visit the page, whatever I put in is there. Next time I visit it, it's gone. So there are a couple ways that you can save your data. One way is locally on the device. So since we're making this as a native app, there is a way that we could actually save this data to the phone, and the next time you open the app up on your phone, your temperatures that you recorded yesterday and the day before are there. However, sometimes you want to do more than that. Sometimes you want to actually let other people see your data, or you want to see your data both on your phone and on your laptop, or on your phone and your tablet and your laptop and your desktop and your computer at work and everything, right? So that's where online databases come in. And a database, let me just pull this up. It's is literally just like an Excel table. That's the best way to think about a database. And pretty much what you do with a database is, or an even better way of thinking about it, is as a table in Microsoft Word. So if I can create a database right here, I can say, I want a database that's going to have, you tell how many rows you want, columns you want it to have.
Who wants to do this?
No, I'll just show this, and then we're going to actually go ahead and all of you are going to make your own database for this. And And the way you do it is you define what types of things you want to keep track of. So I might want to keep track of, I obviously want to track what the temperature was that was recorded, the label that it was recorded on, maybe, maybe that's all, right? For this application, that's all I need. So I'll just have a table with two columns. And now every time a user enters a temperature, I just simply add a row to my table. So you enter a temperature of 100 at 19:57 and 34 seconds, put in a row in the table. And then you enter another temperature, I put another row in the table. Oops, not above, below. And so this way now, but this is saved on the internet. So now all of your temperatures and labels, instead of just being in a little variable that will disappear after you refresh, it's all online. And anytime you access it, there it is. And anybody can access it. And so you might think, okay, well, so how do I get a database? It's actually not that difficult. There are a lot of websites. The one we started with was Network Solutions. I don't really recommend it because we've had some performance issues with them. They're kind of expensive. If you were going to start with a place, I would recommend this other site, webhostingpad.com. For $2 a month, you can have your own database, a website, place to upload stuff. It comes with the domain name, I think, for a year. So it's a pretty cheap way to have your own website, database, APIs, all this type of stuff. But since I already have, our family actually has hosting here, I'm going to show you how to do it in here, but the same principles will apply to wherever you decide to get hosting. All right. In here, I'm going to want to go over to, no, stop. I'm going to go over to the hosting packages thing. Now you'll see that they've got domain names. That's different. Domain name is like, I have the domain name scoutlet.com. I also bought, another name we were thinking of for Scoutlet was StatHive. So I bought the domain name stathive.com, and a couple people have emailed me asking to buy it, right? So I'm going to hang on to it until someone pays the right price. And that was what we ran into at Scout. A lot of people will buy domain names and sit on them, and then when Apple comes along and like, hey, I want to buy apple.com, they're like, okay, well, how about a couple $1 million or whatever, a couple $100 million. So domain names are a separate deal. Hosting is basically the space that you have online. Just like you have space on your computer, you've got like now like a terabyte of space on your computer or whatever. Hosting online is space that you have in the internet that anybody can access. They don't need to be on your same network or on your computer. So I go to the hosting tools here, and somewhere in your hosting you should see some type of database manager. And in here, these are all sorts of different databases that I have. And a database can contain multiple tables. So how I showed you that I have that one table with two columns. Like if I go to Scoutlet here, oops, did I click on the right one? You can see that we have a table for stats, table for users, table for teams, all these different tables in one database. And this is how it looks. So as teams sign up, we save all their data in here, and this is how then we enable them to access it on the website, stuff that they put in on the app. And even if they reinstall the app or anything, it's all still there. So what I'm going to do here is we'll go ahead and create a database. Well, actually, I mean, you put in this basic stuff just to keep things simple. I'll use one that I've created already over here called Mobile Track. And these are, as you can see, stuff from people who were taking this class at work. But what you can do is I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the link and login information so you all can get in here and make your own databases and follow along. And now if I can only remember the username and password. Let me see. I did. Okay. I'm going to post this on, again, the Hangout here. And rather than, so you all should see that on the Hangout now, the link to the database. If you don't, just let me know. And the login for that is, actually, you know what? I should just go ahead and, I'm just going to go ahead and post the username and password for that here. It's going to be, the username is going to be mobile102, and the password is going to be enter into, but the E in enter is a 3, and the into is capitalized. So let me just pause and check to see if we have any questions on the web. You got it? You know what? I'll just go ahead and share those. And then you should get into a page that looks like this. Let me know when you got it. You got it, John. You sure you in? Working on it, Tony. You got it.
I was trying to pull it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Mobile 102.
What was your password?
3 NTER capital INTO.
Try again.
Got it? Tony, you got it? Okay. Once you're in, you're going to go to the Databases tab. And actually, sorry, not the Databases tab. You're going to, over on the left-hand side, you're going to click on where it says Mobile Track. And this is going to show all of the tables that have been put into it already and give you a space to create a new table. And let me just double check here. Okay. Tony, you got it? All right. So you go ahead and create a table just with your first name, so we can all keep track of our stuff. And number of fields, actually, just to be safe, do first name and last initial, since there might be more than one John or David in attending here. And for number of fields, we're going to just go ahead and put 2 to keep it simple. And we'll go ahead and say go. Now, as soon as you say go, it's going to bring up this page, which is basically going to, it looks intimidating, but basically it's just asking you to define what your columns are, what type of data is going to be in them, what you want them to be called, the different properties about them. So we'll call one of them temp. Actually, we'll just call it temperature. Let me just see what I called them before. And the other one we'll call label. Now temperature, the type for temperature is set to int by default, which is good. Int stands for integer, just a positive round number, so that's good. and we can ignore the other stuff for now. But for label, that is actually going to be that's actually going to be a date and a time. So what we're going to do here, we'll scroll down, and we'll make it a timestamp object. All right, and now we'll save it, and it should say table mobile track, your name has been created. So I can see Tony's got his issue at YW. Okay.
So who's hosting the database?
This is Network Solutions right here. But like I mentioned,
this is their GUI?
yes. Well, no. So this place that we're in right now is something called phpMyAdmin, and basically it is a web interface to manage your database.
Okay.
You can download programs to manage your database instead, but this is very nice because you can access it from any computer without having to install anything. Okay, John, I see got his. If anybody on the web is having trouble doing this, just let me know. All right, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and on the left-hand side, click on your database. It'll now allow you to put some rows in it. So just to keep things simple to start with, we're going to click on Insert, and just put in some temperatures this way. You can see we can fill in a temperature for that. For the label, they will by default put in the current time, but you could also, if you wanted to, click on the calendar and put in a previous time. So if this was actually when I recorded the temperature yesterday, I could click on the calendar and say, oh, I did this yesterday at, let's see, I did this yesterday at 7 o'clock. And then that'll fill that in. And then today, right now, it's, what is it, about like 95 out there? 95. And I'll go ahead and say go. And it should say 2 rows inserted, if you got it right. And then you can come over here and click Browse, and you should see a table with your data in it. We got it. Did everybody get it? Now, that's great when we're on here and we've got this nice little form to put this stuff in. But to program this, we need a language to talk to the database and tell it what we want it to do. And in this case, what we're using here is a database called MySQL or MySQL, and it's one of the easiest databases and most free and widely used databases that I know about, which is really nice. So if you click on the SQL tab, SQL or SQL is the language that you use to talk to the database. And when you click on it, you'll notice that by default, it's going to just fill in some code for us here. Now what this does is it says select means get. Get me star means everything from this table, the David D table, where, oops, I keep clicking right click, where 1. 1 is just true. So this says get me everything from the David table where the condition is true. So get me everything, right? So if we click go on that, guess what? It'll get us everything. But now, let's say we wanted to be selected. It's more selective. Let's actually, you know what? Just for fun, let's go into insert and just put in a couple more temperatures. Let's say 91, and then let's say we had a real scorcher, 105. So now we have a table with 4 rows of data, just a little bit more for us to experiment around on. Now if we go into SQL, we'll experiment with modifying this code. So let's say we don't want to get all the rows. Let's say we want to only find out, we only want to get the rows where it was over 100, right? We know that, what was it, last year we broke the record, or we almost, for the longest number of days over 100. Let's say we wanted to find out, if we're breaking the record for most days over 100. So what we can do is we can backspace the 1, and we can say where temperature is greater than 100. Now this will only work, by the way, if that's the name of your column. If you used a different name for your column, and by the way, they show you the names of your columns over here, you'll need to use whatever name for the column you used. Now if I say go, only the rows that are over 100 show up. Now suppose I also wasn't really interested in the labels. I was just, interested in the actual temperature. And maybe I was only interested in the dates, right? I don't care what the temperature was. I just want you to tell me what dates were over 100. So instead of selecting star, we can just select label. Oh, by the way, what I did, sorry, let me back up. I clicked on edit right here. This basically pulls up your old code for you to change. So I'm going to go ahead and just select label from David D where temperature is greater than 100. Hit go, X out of this, and now I'm only getting the days where the temperature was over 100. And we're running out of time here. So before we end, any last questions? Does this piece make sense? All right. And similarly on the bridge or on email, what we're going to do next week is cover the rest of the commands to talk to the database. So we know how to get stuff out of the database. So the next thing to do is, okay, how do we put stuff into the database? How do we change stuff that's in the database? And how do we delete stuff that's in the database? So we're going to figure out, we're going to do all that, and then with all that, I'll show you the language that you use to make what's called an API, which stands for Application Programming Interface, I believe. Everybody just uses the acronym. So, but basically, an API is a piece of code that our app can use to talk to the database. So we make a piece of code that will our app can use to send the temperature and the label over to the database. And then we'll get another piece of code that our app will use to say, hey, give me all of the temperatures for this user. And in fact, what we can even do, and I don't think we're going to get this fancy, but what you could even do is you can also do a login, right? So if you only want a certain user to be able to see his temperatures, you can have another API that says, hey, this guy put in this email and this password. Do you have an email that has this corresponding password in your database? If so, tell me true. If not, tell me false. And then I'll decide based on that whether to let the guy in and what data to show him when he gets in. So that's what the databases and APIs are used for. So that's what we'll be doing next week. And I'll send out the code for this week along with the link and the username and password so you can play around with that. Feel free, by the way, during the week if you'd like to just go ahead and experiment around with the database and stuff. That's just, a free sandbox, and then we'll get into that next week.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.